Welcome to Fandom Shmandom, the fandom podcast that covers everything you love and more. I'm Sierra Obermar.
And I'm Aurelia Lieb. Today's episode we will be historically hyperventilating about Heartstopper predictions for the movie Heartstopper Forever.
We've covered the comics and now 3 seasons of the Netflix show. It's time to talk about our expectations for the movie based on the differences in the show adaptation and how the comics ended.
Without further ado, we will, as Roger Smith says, dive on in.
Aurelia, check the patient. Does it have a pulse? Quick, let's do a status check on our Heartstopper fandom.
So since the announcement that the story would conclude with the Heartstopper Forever film, which as a reminder is dropping on the 17th of July, instead of a full season, because I think we all sort of expected, we've done seasons so far, so we would get another season. The Osman verse, which is what the collective is sort of called, has been divided between excitement, yes, we're getting new content, and a healthy dose of anxiety of, what do you mean it's not a season, it's now a movie?
Mm-hmm. I think in general, the fandom is alive and well. With the less than 2-year gap between season 3 and the film, plus the webcomic and graphic novels continuing and ending in the meantime, fans haven't had too much time to forget about Heartstopper.
Yeah, I think it's been around for 10 years, but in the last few years, it's been intense. There's been stuff happening. It's not like in other fandoms where it's like, hang on, this was the last thing was 10 years ago? What? What was this about again? But because we're changing format, there is a bit of episode mourning happening. Fans are worried that a 2-hour movie compared to, I think, almost 4 hours that we've previously had with a season won't be able to give the secondary characters like Isaac, Tara, and Darcy the same breathing room. And I think that's a valid concern to have. You have less time.
I agree.
Less time for people to be in the story. To note, this is the first time we're seeing the 2 main characters, the actors Kit Connor and Joe Locke. They're listed as executive producers. So they've been much more involved in producing this film, making this film, what it means for them. I think that's a good sign. Before we use our ice powers to travel into the unknown, let's take a step back to discuss some key differences between the comic and the TV show as a way to prepare for our film predictions.
I did write that title. Can you tell my daughter's been watching Frozen on repeat?
I read this in the doc and I was like, I have no idea what this means. I presume this is Frozen? I've never seen Frozen.
It's from the second Frozen.
Okay. So we thought we'd start off with some character changes, character differences, probably because we only did 1 episode about all of the comics, and we did obviously take a little bit more time with the seasons. We should probably note that comic Charlie is a bit different to what probably most people now have in their head with seeing Joe Locke's portrayal of Charlie. He's a bit more cynical in the comics, like sarcastic and actually quite independent. And he's a middle child in the comics because they have a younger brother. Tori and Charlie have a younger brother, Oliver. And actually, Charlie also is notably better at rugby right from the start.
Yeah.
And the TV Charlie's a little bit more like slightly more timid, soft-spoken, and probably a bit more the damsel in distress than I think, especially in the like rugby scenes, constantly like tackled over, and so Nick can rush over and help him up.
Right. But then also on the topic of comic Nick, he's a bit more outwardly emotional, goofy, and definitely physically affectionate. He's always depicted as picking Charlie up and kind of swinging him around a little bit. And TV Nick has more of that internal struggle with his sexuality, given more weight and more space for that to be developed. And so we get to see a little bit more of the inwardly thinking emotional side rather than the kind of goofy, outgoing side of his emotionality.
All in all, still a really close depiction. Like,
I would agree.
Don't think for both Charlie and Nick, it's too far away from the source material. And I think some of that is just down to format change. So
Right.
moving on to a character that doesn't exist in the comics is Isaac. So we have Isaac Henderson in the TV show. However, in the comics, we have Aled Last, who's not actually made it to the Netflix adaptation. He's in the comics Charlie's quiet friend, so very similar to Isaac, but he's also another main character in Ousman's separate novel called Radio Silence, where we follow Aled's story after school has ended while his friends have gone on to university. He's back in his hometown making a podcast. Wonder what that feels like. We have no idea. We can't relate. Aled has his own story, has his own book dedicated to him, and because of that, Osman wanted to preserve him and didn't want to add him to the show. So I think it just keeps things open for Alice to do things with Aled Last in the future. And that's why we get Isaac instead. So that is a brand new character with his own backstory, with his own things. He's similar to Aled, but he's also different.
Yeah. And another character who was created specifically for the show would be Imogen Heaney. Imogen is not in the comics. She was created specifically for the Netflix series to add romantic tension, drama, and for most of it, a straight perspective into the friend group. Until she's not.
Yeah. No. Yes.
She goes from an ally to one of us.
Indeed. And the last one to note, I've already mentioned it, is Oliver Spring hasn't really made it into the TV show. There's a cousin in that Christmas episode in season 3 that is called Oliver, and so I think that is meant to be a nod to Oliver Spring.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reasons are fairly obvious. Oliver is much younger than Charlie and Tori, and he's like this adorable, energetic little brother, mostly wants to play Mario Kart, and for reasons of, I just think, the casting nature and the logistics of making a TV show, it just made sense to not have someone who's gonna immediately age out between seasons and filming and all of that. So that's why we didn't have him in the TV show. I don't think it makes a big change to the story that we're seeing, but it is worth noting that Charlie isn't actually the youngest child in the household, but he's a middle child.
Yeah, I was definitely disappointed at first not having Oliver in there, because in the comics he is just so adorable and just this little ball of light in Charlie's world. So it was a little bit of a letdown to not see him, but I do understand the logistical reasons for not including him, and he's not necessarily vital to the story in any way, so it does make sense to remove him for ease.
I think it just adds to like Tori's and Charlie's dynamic. They're clearly quite close in age, but then they have this younger brother that they have to occasionally look after and ensure that, he's not alone somewhere. So I think it just adds to their dynamic that also they're both the like more responsible older siblings, but they have this younger brother to look after. But also they both like clearly love Oliver. Like Tori's not like shown as someone who's very good at expressing emotions necessarily, but she cares for Oliver and spends time with him. So, and I think again, like I already said, this is a difference to being the youngest child and the middle child.
Yeah, definitely. Tangentially related to the characters, there is more of a focus on the ensemble cast within the TV show rather than just focusing on Nick and Charlie. The comics are very hyper-focused on Nick and Charlie, and Cal, Elle, Tara, Darcy are there, but mostly exist in the background just as, or in order to support the main couple or to provide alternative perspectives every once in a while, or to just kind of come in and out of their world with their own opinions. The Netflix show is a true ensemble drama. Situations like Elle and Tao's relationship, Tara and Darcy's domestic and familial struggles, and Isaac's self-discovery are given massive standalone B plots and screen time that really never happened in the graphic novels. We get more of that information as a few panels here and there, or you see them in the background of what's happening with Nick and Charlie. So they're given a lot more focus.
Yeah. I think that partly is due to, again, the change from a comic to a TV show, that you would just naturally get more from those characters. But I do think not only do we get more of them, we just get, in general, more story. They've been fleshed out more. We actually do follow their story beats separately, not just when it is directly related to Nick and Charlie. We get to see, Elle's radio interview that didn't go very well. They didn't need to add to the TV show. That was, it was not a necessary thing to do for the TV show, but they did take the time to show a little bit more about what Elle is struggling as being a trans character. I actually quite like it because it means for more of the queer community watching this, they have a bigger opportunity of seeing themselves in the show, because we get such a range of queer stories as well. There's not just the two main characters and their love story. You have people like Isaac who for me is like, oh yeah, I can relate to a lot of what Isaac's dealing with. I can relate a lot to what Darcy is dealing with as well. And I think it's similar to other queer people watching the show. You can see parts of yourself in different elements of the show because you get to know the characters a little bit more. We also do get more drama in the show, which I think is down to it is a different format. Alice has noted that in the comics, conflicts are often resolved almost immediately because of the shorter webcomic format.
Tao finding out about Nick and Charlie in the comics, Tao finds out that they're dating during the Paris trip and is pretty chill about it. And in the show, the reveal happens earlier and it creates, this major dramatic rift between Tao and Charlie, and they have the fight at the school concert and Tao yelling in close proximity to other people about the thing he shouldn't be talking about.
Oh, thankfully, no one somehow overheard.
Yeah.
Another character that's given an extended role from comic to TV adaptation is Ben Hope. He practically vanishes after volume 1 in the comics, and in the show he's heavily expanded on into season 2 as well, and creates this ongoing tension, and we can explore the psychological fallout of Charlie's trauma through the character of Ben Hope.
Elle and Tao's romance is, we've touched on this in previous episodes, but very different. The transition that they have from friends to partners is a lot smoother in the books. And they do have this will they, won't they friction that the show also introduces very early on. And in the show, it includes a really awkward first date.
Yeah.
In the comics, it's a little bit more straightforward. We still have a little bit of a will they, won't they in the background. And they do end up having, their first kiss, which they share with their friends and everybody explodes about it as well. But it's a little more into the background once they actually get together. But we do think that during season 3 of the TV show, they're potentially entirely too happy.
Yeah.
In the comics, by this point, we've seen them fighting in the background in panels, and we've seen them having a little bit more issues, and it ends up going on to having the realization that they've broken up and gotten back together multiple times. So they have a much more tumultuous relationship in the comics rather than the kind of smooth sailing that we're getting in the show so far.
I also think, like, in the show, Tao seems to almost purely exist after season 1 for Al's sake. Because in season 1, he cares a lot more about Charlie, and then, like, season 2 and 3, he seems to be, well, I'm Elle's boyfriend. That's, like, my identity.
Right.
I don't think that's a fair summary of his character.
Justice for Tao. Yeah. Crack open an encyclopedia. It's time for our, as Elijah Wood once said, "No, how could we have known?" category, where we discuss the most important information disseminated to the fandom between the show end and movie release.
So I had a little bit of a hunt around the internet, as one does, to find a little bit about what Alice Oseman themselves said about the movie coming up. They did some interviews. So I thought, actually, let's bring this here because maybe not everyone else went out of the way to look for those things. So I didn't have a reason to look for these things before we started talking about this on the show. So they explained that the movie's emotional core is the transition from adolescence to adulthood, which we do see in the comics, but this is now, I think, the shift between seasons 1 to 3 were like a teen romance, and now the movie is going to be, now we're adults and we're at university, and what does this all mean? So a direct quote from Alice is, "Are Nick and Charlie a forever love? If they are, why?" Oseman also mentioned they were ambitious about the movie format, feeling it allows for a more cinematic, atmospheric, and grand conclusion than a traditional 8-episode season could provide. That I found in multiple interviews, so that was like a repeated thing Alice has said.
It sounds a little bit like a justification for having a movie instead of a TV show. Well, you're going to see it on the big, in a big format. Well, but it's still a Netflix release, so not quite. But I kind of understand where you're going with it. I'm hoping that this means that we'll have potentially longer sequences, and I just don't want it to be rushed. But I feel that, trying to have a more cinematic conclusion makes sense on the one hand, but having now a third format version of this story, I think could be potentially a little jarring.
Yeah, there's a bit of logistics in all of this. It was quite interesting because some articles then went to sort of assume this had a bigger budget, but I couldn't actually get confirmation anywhere that this had a bigger budget. And I think it's down to what I've just said, that Oseman was quoted on quite frequently. They're like, this is more ambitious, this is more cinematic. So some like news articles were like, well, there's more money in this one. But there is no confirmation that there is actually more money for this film than it was for the TV show format. So we have no idea if that's true or not. It might be, I don't know. But also the logistical reasons for the two main characters, Nick and Charlie, their cast. Joe Locke is now in the Marvel Universe. Kit Connor has done a few major films. Their careers have just been exploding, so it's been quite difficult just for logistical reasons to get everyone together for filming for 4 months, and that's what filming the TV show has meant. It was a 4-month period. Versus the movie, they could reunite for a shorter, more intense filming period. I think there is quite a lot of, logistically, this was the only way we could finish the story. Which, this is just how life works, I think. Doesn't have to be a bad thing, it's just, this is not a reality that we live in.
And at least we are getting an ending.
Yes, absolutely. The story's ending and finishing. The last thing I found that Oseman has said in those interviews, that the film would offer many hints of what's to come in the characters' future lives, which I think means everyone sort of almost immediately is like, right, do we get like a fast forward montage of like epilogue things of what's happening with those characters? Especially because Alice is known to share posts on their social media showing the gang in their 20s. So that's something the fandom, if they follow Alice on social, are familiar with. That is a common thing they do. So that's sort of where people are like, oh, we're getting a version of this in this film at the end, potentially. But yeah, that is the in-between, what we know, what we can understand about why we're getting a film. I have just 2 more things to add. There's a little fun fact here for you guys. The release date, I say it again, it's 17th of July or July 17, depending if you're American or you're not American. That date was chosen because it's exactly 4 years to the day since season 1 was first released, which is quite cute.
So many full circle dates.
Yes.
10 years, 4 years to the day. Good stuff.
Yes. Not so good stuff, or maybe good stuff, we don't really know. But the last thing I wanted to add here, Olivia Colman has once again not managed to join the movie due to scheduling conflicts. And we've seen this in season 3. We've covered this in our last episode. Basically, they just pretended she was there while she wasn't there. But they said, right, we can't do this for the film. Nick's mom as a character is too important to this part of the story. Nick needs to have these scenes where he talks to his mom. So they have made the decision to recast the role with Anna Maxwell Martin, which I think most notable from Motherland and Ludwig. And I have one final quote here from Alice Oseman about the recast and Anna in particular. They say, Anna perfectly embodies Sarah's gentle, down-to-earth energy, and it was magical to witness her scenes with Kit Connor during the film shoot. I can't wait for Heartstopper fans to experience her interpretation of Sarah Nelson. But yeah, we shall see what we think when we see the movie.
Stay tuned.
But I do think it makes sense that they needed to recast her role.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have been nice to have Olivia back, but again, life doesn't always...
She's too famous.
Life doesn't always work out. Get up to 88, because it's time to travel back to our story recap. This time it's novella version. The Nick and Charlie novella has actually existed for quite a long time at this moment in time. It was released originally in 2015, so a long time ago. We are in 2026, so that's almost 11 years ago now. Ooh, definitely not feeling old right now. So
no,
it's been around for a long time, which probably explains why for people right now it might feel quite different to the versions of Nick and Charlie you've been introduced, mostly in the TV show, but also in the later versions of the webcomic, as that has only finished recently. So it's a much more angst-heavy part of the Nick and Charlie story. However, it takes place about 2 years into Nick and Charlie's relationship during the summer before Nick leaves for university in Leeds, which is coincidentally where we're finding ourselves right now in the story from a film adaptation.
So it starts with the core conflict, university dread. The story is told from alternating perspectives. Nick is incredibly excited about moving to Leeds, gaining independence, and starting fresh. Charlie, however, is spiraling. He still has 1 more year of 6th form left, and he's convinced that once Nick experiences university life, he'll realize Charlie is just a burden from his past and break up with him.
You then do a classic Osman verse character trope, the lack of communication. Instead of talking about his fears, Charlie starts acting out. He becomes distant, snappy, and tries to prepare himself for the breakup by pushing Nick away. Nick knows something is wrong, but assumes Charlie is just stressed about school. The tension builds until it reaches a breaking point at a massive end-of-term party,
which leads to the big fight. This is the most controversial part of the novella for many fans. At this party, after a series of misunderstandings and a fair amount of drinking by the secondary characters, Nick and Charlie have a huge screaming argument in front of everyone. Charlie basically tells Nick that they should just end it now rather than waiting for it to fail. And they stop speaking for 2 weeks, which is the longest they've ever gone without contact. And it's a very dark time for both of them, with Charlie regressing into his own insecurities and Nick feeling abandoned.
Which leads us to the reunion after those 2 weeks. Eventually they realize how miserable they are without each other, They have a massive, tearful conversation where they finally lay everything on the table.
The resolution, they admit that long distance will be hard, but they agree that being Nick and Charlie is worth the effort. They decide to stay together and navigate the Leeds to Rochester distance as a team.
And the novella ends with a very sweet, mature scene that confirms their commitment. And as Osman has hinted, their physical intimacy is a settled part of the relationship by this point. So there you go. This is the summary of what's happening in the novella. I had read the novella a few years ago, but even as we were preparing for this episode, I was shocked to be reminded of how angsty it is. It is quite a departure from what we've seen otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And Osman has admitted that is not how they write the characters anymore. So the characters have changed in how they depict them now, which is probably why this feels a bit of a shock to the system if you've only seen the show. I would say. We're like, oh, okay.
Well, get out that crystal ball and tell us all about the weather. It's our big predictions category. Starting with the story predictions.
Yes. We know the film is based on Volume 6 of the graphic novel and the Nick and Charlie novella, which is why we've spent time with all of you talking about how the graphic novels end and why we've just told you what happens in the Nick and Charlie novella. There's method to our madness. Osman noted that Charlie will be finding a new sense of confidence and independence, while Nick faces a bit of an identity crisis, questioning who he is without Charlie constantly by his side. So far, no surprises. This is where we've ended with season 3. This is the starting point of the story. And knowing that the Nick and Charlie novella starts with the summer before uni, question over to you, Sierra. Do we think that's where the film will start?
Yes, because I don't think that we have enough time in a film to start any sooner in the summer. And I think it's going to be kind of the last few weeks maybe before Nick leaves. So I think we'll skip probably most of the summer and start up pretty closely to when everybody goes their separate ways. And then we'll have, I'm anticipating a little bit of a fast forward through that whole year or through the whole school year, so that we end up having the climax of the film at the Leavers Ball for Charlie. But we'll see.
Yes, that would make sense. Yeah, that we get beats of that school year. So, thinking of Charlie making head boy, I would assume that was getting shown out of his character arc and development. And I would assume we see some beats of Nick adapting to university and all of that. But yeah, I would assume that goes fairly quickly.
I also think that because we're having Volume 6 plus the Nick and Charlie novella kind of combined together, especially with how dramatic the novella is, that the Nick and Charlie of it all in the film will follow the existing storylines fairly closely. I don't anticipate there being too much of a departure from what I think that we can expect from their storylines, which I am totally on board with. Yeah. So I think that just with them drama in general.
You wanted it. You asked for it last episode. You get it. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I would assume we're getting all of the drama, all of the are we breaking up, were we not breaking up, should we breaking up, is long distance going to work, all of that. I do think, and I've already mentioned this, Alice has evolved how they write Nick and Charlie. I do think we're going to get a slightly softer, less meaner version of it, but I do think we're getting it. I think we'll get all of that. Just see the film version of it.
Yeah, so as I said, I think for our boys, them adjusting to the idea of being apart, finding their own personal passions is going to be pretty similar to the storylines in the novella and the comic. Big focus on, Charlie being head boy, what this means for him in the school, and how he's kind of striking out on his own and being a real force of change. And then Nick realizing that his passions don't have to come second, because that's a huge sticking point of him choosing Leeds is he wants to sacrifice for Charlie, but Leeds is really where his passion lies. So I think he has to learn over this that maybe it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes and to think about yourself and who you want to be and not just losing yourself in a relationship, which is very common for people to do. So,
and I think especially that young when you're still figuring out who you are anyway.
Totally.
So I think most people who've done or gone through the change of you live at home and you go to school and now you moved away and you're going to a different school will probably be able to relate to this. You've known who you were at home and going to your old school, and now you have the opportunity to figure yourself out with basically a fresh start. And some people are really excited about this because potentially life in school before hasn't been fun for them. And so it's a good opportunity to have a fresh start where no one knows you, no one knows awkward things that happened to you when you were younger.
No one saw you fall flat on your face that one time.
Yeah, exactly. All of these sort of weird things that sometimes lead to bullying, that sort of stuff. But also it can be quite intimidating because you need to figure out who you are now that maybe, you're heading into your 20s and you're figuring out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And that is a big adjustment. You're probably living on your own for the first time. You need to figure out how you're feeding yourself, that sort of stuff. You need to clean occasionally. All of the big adulting things.
Hashtag do not recommend.
No
adulting.
No.
I do think that when it comes to the ending of the film, I'm anticipating the Leavers Ball to be the ending, just as it was in the comic. But I do think that we will have that fast forward or epilogue of sorts, just the same as we also get in the comics. There will be, this is not a prediction, this is a declaration. There will be a Farouk Ajayi engagement. And if we get a wedding instead of the Leavers Ball, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with it. It can be Sahar's solo show, could be playing the wedding.
Okay.
I don't know how realistic it is to claim that a bunch of students are going to attend their teacher's wedding, but
look, it has happened.
I don't care. It has happened, and I think that it would be fine. But there will be an engagement, and we will get that moment. And I have said this before, and I will say it again. I think that because we're seeing more of what's happening kind of off page, off screen, that we will actually get the proposal as well.
Yeah. We know that Farouk and Ajayi are in the film. They're confirmed casting. So we know they're definitely in that. I think at the very least we will see them because I think we'll see Charlie adjusting to being head boy. And obviously both of those teachers have, stepped up for him, recommended him, have sort of gently pushed him to do it. So at the very least, we will see them in that sort of school setting scenario, which won't make Sierra happy. But
no, I need more.
That's the safe bet to make, or they will definitely sort of be there.
Right.
I think because we've seen more of their relationship in the Netflix show, especially thinking season 2 in Paris, where we get the beat in the hallway and all of that. I would be surprised if we didn't see their relationship in the movie, even if it was just a few scenes here and there of them being a couple together. If we were to get a wedding, if that would replace the Leavers Ball somehow.
I think it would have to. I think you can't have two events.
Yeah. I mean, considering those were the teachers they were with on the Paris trip. And I think for Charlie in particular, Ajayi was the teacher that was there for him when he was bullied, that let him sit in his classroom and have lunch there instead, and that he almost opened up to about his OCD and his eating disorder. I don't think it would be too far of a leap to say that they have a bit more of a closer relationship than maybe he has with other students.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then also what we see from Farouk during this next year of Charlie being head boy and starting the Pride Club and everything, I think Farouk also has a closer relationship with Charlie.
Yeah.
In particular, than he would with a lot of other students as well. And I'm sure that that's partially just related to the fact that Ajayi and Charlie have that relationship.
Yeah.
And so Farouk is kind of jumping into it. But I think that they also formed their own kind of bond as well.
Yeah.
With Farouk really encouraging Charlie to continue reaching out because he was that quiet queer kid who didn't come out until a lot later. And so, you know, he makes mention multiple times of, well, wouldn't it be nice if there was a really good space here?
Yeah.
So that nobody basically had to go through what he did.
Yeah.
Or what Charlie did.
All I was saying here for me is like, it would make sense that they would invite Charlie and then Charlie would bring Nick. And then I don't think it's too far of a leap to sort of think from the teacher's perspective, like, all right, if we're inviting one student, they might feel awkward if they're the only student around at this event. Let's allow them to bring their friend group, who's also a very queer friend group. So, you know, this would make it a better experience for the students. And also this is a group of students that we are closer with and that would probably enjoy a queer wedding. So I don't think it would be completely out of reach to have that. I don't think your demands are unreasonable.
No. It's okay if I don't get the wedding, though, but the engagement must happen.
Okay.
On to another couple. I think that because Tao and Elle's relationship is vastly different between the comics and the show, which we've talked about already, I don't think I anticipate the plot line of them breaking up. I think we've already seen Tao's fears about them being apart, and they've already covered it in the show. And I feel like they covered it early in comparison to when it's actually talked about in the comics. And so I don't know that it makes sense for distance to yet again get in the way of their relationship. And so I kind of feel like they're settled in that, but I can see him just straight moving to Berlin to be with her instead of traveling back and forth or something like that. So I can see that their kind of relationship plot line in the film could be Tao just committing to full send into the relationship and move with her to pursue his own thing while she's doing her art.
Yeah. I do wonder because the way it's depicted in the film version, it always feels like Elle's very like focused on what she wants to do. And I'm not saying that's wrong or anything. She's like, right, I want to pursue art. I'm going to change schools to this art school, even though that means I'm going to see less of my friends. Right, I do want to pursue art even more. I'm going to go abroad to Berlin and do that. She almost seems to be less hindered by the thought of Tao or her friends. And she's just like, I want to do this, so I'm doing this. So I do wonder if that could be a basis for relationship drama, as in Tao being like, well, you just do whatever you want and it's down to me to follow you. And it's you don't seem to be as committed to this relationship as I am. Because I do think there's quite an imbalance in that relationship. What we see in the Netflix version of it, it's very much Tao's trying everything to be good enough for her, and Elle almost seems a bit like, yeah, this is fun, but also I'm very focused on what I want to do with my life.
Right. Yeah, I guess I can see that they could have a breakup, but it would be for different reasons.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think we need two versions of long distance, even though that is probably quite common theme after you finish school, and what does that mean? Like, it wouldn't be a surprise if we had two couples struggling with long distance, because that's just how life works.
Right.
But because every time I see the show, I'm like, Elle doesn't seem to be as committed to this relationship. Every time I'm like,
Yeah.
Elle's just sort of like, yeah, this is fun. Okay, I'm doing art now. But yeah, maybe just Elle's just figured out more what she wants in life, and Tower seems to be struggling to be like, where do I fit in all of this?
Right. I think Darcy and Tara, their story will follow fairly closely to the comics. I think they'll take their gap year. I think it's already being set up because Tara is, kind of wanting to have that freedom and not have to choose right now exactly what she wants to do. And, they went on the uni trip and she hated everything and didn't want to go to Oxford, even though she's in, Oxbridge Prep. And I think it's going to focus more on her understanding that her decision is okay.
Yeah.
And that it'll be accepted by, the people who have expectations for her. So her family and teachers and everyone who's been encouraging her this whole time. So I think that that story will continue fairly as we know it, but it will have more of a focus on Tara and her struggle with accepting that it's okay not to know everything right now.
Yeah. And I don't think that would be a surprise for anyone who's read Radio Silence. This is the second mention of it on this episode, which follows Al at Last. And in that book, the central theme is you do not have to go to university. Your life is not going to end if you don't go to university. And I don't know if it is similar in the States to how it definitely feels in like Western Europe, where there's been so much of a push of you need to go to university, otherwise you're not going to be successful in life. Which is, we're already now in a life where, jobs that you don't need a university degree, they're struggling hiring young people, finding young people who even want to do it. And turns out we need people who can fix our houses. We need people who can do those jobs. It doesn't actually help if we all have university degrees and then no one actually does the stuff that keeps our houses from falling apart and buys our electricity, or, and all of those jobs are actually needed. So there's definitely sort of a theme in general, in at least what I'm seeing around in my life. And we know Alice is quite passionate about that as well, because they have said and that's part of why they wrote Radio Silence, they felt pressure to go to university, that they were like, well, that's the only thing you do, surely after school you go to university. And that is actually not what you need to do. You can do something else. And so I wouldn't be surprised, as you say, that if that Tara, Darcy gap year also focus a little bit on what do we want to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if Darcy, for example, is like, actually academics is not my thing. I don't want to go to university. I'm not saying that is the same for Tara, but Tara might just want to not go to the most academic, super duper university that is Oxford or Cambridge. But yes, wouldn't be a surprise. I think everything that we know about Alice Oseman, that if that was somehow weaved into the story.
As we know nothing in the TV show about Michael's Olympic aspirations and capabilities, I don't think that this film is a good place to introduce it. I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to have at least one mention prior to dropping that in. So I don't know that that's going to be part of his and Tori's story. I do think that there will be a focus on how he and Tori have become, their version of official, whatever that means for them specifically, because that was a big theme of the end of season 3 is, well, what are we, basically? And so I think it's possible that in order to keep Tori and Michael more closely connected to the main characters while everything else is happening, I think it's possible that Tori will end up attending the same university as one of the other characters, just so that we kind of keep her in the loop a little bit more. Because if she is off doing her own thing and Charlie is at home and everybody else is off doing whatever they're doing, I don't know how much overlap we'll get with her, except for, when she's home on breaks. But if she were to attend the same school as one of the other characters, I'm not sure which one, I think it could keep her more closely related to the plots that we'll see. It's a possibility.
Or she's
taking a gap year.
University that is down the road from them, basically.
Yep. The one that Nick was originally thinking of attending, yes. So I think that that's kind of how they'll weave into the story. And I don't, as much as we love Michael, I don't know that he's going to have too much of a role.
I mean, good news for everyone who loves Michael. He's in the movie. He is confirmed casting. So we definitely know he will be in it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do think you're right. It is a bit too late now to be like, oh, he's an Olympic level ice speed skater. I think it's speed skating. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. We've only seen him for like 2-3 scenes so far. We loved him in all of those scenes, but I would assume it would be similar level of we get 2-3 moments with him. We get some beats with him, really.
I am hoping that there is something that he's, awaiting an announcement about, and we do get Tori's yelling in the middle of the library moment, because I love that so much.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that we get a little of that, and possibly a little bit more into Tori's feelings, because I feel like, there was more of the focus on the labels and less of the focus on how Tori is. And I almost wonder if that's because Isaac basically took that role in the show, and having two characters discovering that they're somewhere in the Arrow Ace zone would maybe be too similar of storylines to have two characters going through it.
Yeah.
So I think that it is possible that we get a little bit more of what's going on in Tori's head.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we'll get too much, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tori as a character does struggle a little bit with those labels. So even though as someone who's quite familiar with the Arrow Ace spectrum, I would probably, if I was able to label her, I would say she's asexual, but clearly still romantically interested in Michael.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or potentially there could be something where she is a demi or grey asexual. Not to now turn this into lectures of different versions of asexual spectrum. But she also doesn't seem to be comfortable with labeling herself. So for her, it's probably just, this is how I feel about sex in our relationship. And that's maybe just it for her. Versus Isaac obviously goes the full way, if that's the right way to describe it. Like, he is fully asexual and fully aromantic. So that is the complete opposite to the rest of his friend group, which is why I think it was interesting to explore it, because everyone else is so into their couples, and he is the one who's like, I feel like you're only interested in my life if I'm also potentially interested in someone.
Right.
Which then gives that sort of, diversity of, here's someone who's just not feeling that, and that's also okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got more of Michael and Tori than we maybe think we would, just because they are such fan favorites. So I don't I wouldn't be surprised if we got more. I'm not expecting it, but I'm just sort of like, everyone is aware that people really love those two characters. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get a surprisingly more amount of scenes of them. And I wouldn't be mad, because I'm also very happy with seeing them every time they're on screen. So
I have honestly no idea what is going to happen with Isaac's story. Aled, the character he essentially replaced, has his creative aspirations with the podcast and everything. So I do wonder if there'll be some sort of a push in a similar direction for Isaac. He's always got his nose in a book. Perhaps he becomes a writer. Perhaps he becomes a book publisher, something in the book realm. I could see them kind of steering him towards. I do feel like, for the most part, his story is complete.
Yeah.
So I feel that he's going to be relegated to more of a side background character who's there, kind of like what we saw from him in season 1, where he's there and he's part of everything, but we don't really focus on him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens because, yes, I think his arc was in season 2 and 3, and that's it now, I think. Because he'll presumably go off to university somewhere just because he has clearly got the grades for it. We've seen that one scene with the parents' evening where they're like, he's really good at school, it'd be nice if he participated while he's actively reading in that scene. I don't know. He almost feels like a little bit of Alice has inserted themselves into the story as a character a little bit, like almost like flip-flop. Surprise, I was the narrator all along. This is me telling the story. But yes, we shall see. I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually in the least of all of the characters we've talked about. I think that would make sense. Even though I would personally be a little bit sad. Talking about casting, because these are all the characters we know are in the story. We have confirmed casting. We do have 2 more characters we just wanted to talk about that we have confirmed casting and that we haven't covered yet. So, at the time of recording, I should say, it's still May as we're recording this. We know that we're going to get more Harry.
A little bit, at least.
Yes.
Yeah, Cormac Hyde Corrin is listed as featured, so we can expect at least one last classic Harry encounter before the credits roll. My bet is probably in whatever final sequence we have with the Leavers Ball, or possibly he'll be part of the bullying plotline and Charlie's story in some way. I'm hoping that it's not that he's completely gone back to the way that he was before and he's part of the bullying, but possibly sticking up for Charlie if we get this scene of Charlie standing up for a younger student with bullies, and then maybe Harry even backs him up.
Yeah.
That could be a nice continuation of his little B story, C story, D.
I don't even know
however sideline his story
I don't even
is.
know which year Harry is supposed to be in. Is he Charlie's year, or is he presumably graduated with Nick? Even at school anymore?
I do not know.
Yeah.
I was under the assumption that he was the same as Nick, but I can see them keeping him to still continue to be around Charlie, because I think that he and Nick have kind of already had their back and forth and everything, and so I think him interacting with Charlie when Nick is not around would be slightly more interesting. And we could also maybe get some Harry Tao zingers.
Yes.
If he is still there.
Yeah. Another actor that we have listed and confirmed, but in potentially even smaller role, because it's so far only said is an undisclosed cameo, and the actor is Derek Jacobi. It was a big name, an absolute big name, but we have no idea, and cameo could be anything.
Yeah.
So he could be potentially a university professor, because we are going to university, so that could be a thing. He could be a relative. He could potentially be a glimpse into the future if we do get some sort of future type scenes.
My bet is he's the Leeds announcement voice.
The Stephen Fry of Leeds. So, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it.
Clean your evil lair and get ready for our I was the turkey all along category. What is the biggest takeaway viewers should leave with in preparation for Heartstopper Forever?
We can assume Nick's struggles of finding himself without Charlie are going to be quite central. It is in the novella, it's in the comics. I think this is where we left the story with season 3. He's already having his little, I don't know who I am if I'm not with Charlie, in the car scenes on the trip to universities when they're like looking at them, checking out what they're like. So I would assume this is the thing you need to know about. This is the thing we've built up to. This will be part of the story. The other part, I would say, is Nick and Charlie relationship struggles. Sierra wanted it. Sierra demanded it. Sierra is getting it.
Yay! I mean, no, but yay!
If you're unhappy with this, blame Sierra. She's personally to blame for this. Because she has
I
that
had
much
so
sway.
much pull. Exactly. I was very deeply involved in all of the writing of this film now.
Sierra is actually secretly a writer of the film.
Surprise!
We can now finally reveal. No. But because we do know the Nick and Charlie novella is part of the movie, and that is what the Nick and Charlie novella is about. You are getting it. Be prepared. You still now have time to read the Nick and Charlie novella if you want to. If you're unsatisfied with the little summary that we've given you, you need more angst and drama. If that's your thing, go get it in your bookshop or in your library. But yeah, so far I think that is definitely the two things I would say we are absolutely getting. The third one is probably where I'm not sure why. We've already talked a little bit about this, and that's the Ellen Tower of it all. Are we going to see them struggling in their relationship? Are we potentially not seeing it because the Netflix show has already deviated from that part from the comics? But also, for those who have come from the comics, it would also be a little bit weird if we didn't see them struggling in their relationship because it would be so different to what we have in the comics.
Right.
But potentially the struggles are different struggles, I guess.
I also think that with the number of couples that we have and how much Nick and Charlie's surroundings are kind of telling them to break up and it's so difficult to do long distance and all of that, if we didn't have at least one couple actually succumb to the pressures of long distance, I think it would be a little too neat and tidy, I guess, because a big part of volume 6 is all these people around Nick and Charlie are breaking up. They're not going to do long distance. They're finding ways to be together or ending things. And so many people just anticipate their relationship to be over. But the whole point is, but you're Nick and Charlie.
Yeah.
And, destined to be in some way because of everything that you guys have worked through in the relationship, that you guys are strong enough to do this. And not everybody can be like you. Not everybody can have that strong relationship like you guys do. So I think that if we didn't have kind of a foil to that situation and the outside pressures, it would be a little bit too smooth and tidy of a story.
And I don't think we would see it with Tara and Darcy, because that would come out of nowhere. So out of the 3 main couples that we follow, it would have to be Ellen Tower, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Even in my life, and I was not dating, it was that when school ended, everyone was like, are we doing long distance? Are we not doing long distance? And it was almost like, we're not even going to try because this doesn't work out for most people anyway, so let's just call it. 4 people trying and it wasn't successful, and then some people trying and being successful and potentially still together nowadays. It's like all of these, this is a very common thing to happen as school ends. So like, are people going to make it or not? This is the talk of town at that age, I would say.
Right. Today's public service announcement. You are now required to cast a huge name as all announcement voices. This announcement will be redubbed over by Sir Patrick Stewart.
I was going to say, that means you and I are never going to get a cameo in anything anymore. Because I feel like that was the only way we were going to feature in anything as disembodied voice.
Disembodied voice number 4. Well, thank you, dear listeners, for listening to this episode of Fandom Shmandom. If you'd like to discuss this episode or any other episode that we have done, please hit us up on our social media channels. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Fandom Shmandom Pod. Please go there, comment, like our posts, interact with us.
Yes, talk to us.
We put things out there so that you talk to us because we're needy. Also, remember that we are on Patreon, so if you feel like supporting us in a monetary way, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/CW/Fandom Shmandom is where you can find us.
Please don't forget to rate and review us if you liked the episode. It really helps the algorithm place us in front of other like-minded schmissners out there. With that, we're out, y'all.
Don't forget to tip your angst-filled novellas.
And fare thee well.
Fandom Shmandom was created by Sam Williams and Sierra Obermark. The show is produced and edited by Aurelia Lieb. The music is by Jeremiah Alves.
I am recording.
Right, what part to do? Be difficult to do just without recording.
Yeah. We just talk for an hour and a half and are like, nice, nailed it.
and we have your track, but not mine. So that would not be good. And also relate to a lot of what, Tara is dealing with. No, Darcy is dealing with. I get them always mixed up.